Get out. My son deserves better than you. Linda, my mother-in-law, shouted. She pointed at the door, her face red with anger. I stood still, one hand on my pregnant belly, feeling my baby move inside me. I know what you did with that mechanic. Everyone saw you, she yelled. My James needs a loyal wife, not a cheater carrying another man's child. I stayed calm. I was 7 months pregnant, and I knew Linda would do something like this. She had tried to break up my marriage since James and I got engaged 3 years ago. Linda, I said softly, think about what you're doing. My name is Anna Mitchell. I'm 29, and this was my worst nightmare, being accused of cheating while carrying my first baby. But I wasn't going to cry or beg. Don't Linda me, she snapped, grabbing my wedding photo from the mantel. I have proof. Pictures of you meeting him every Tuesday for 3 months. Did you think no one would notice? I almost laughed. Those Tuesday meetings, they were with Dr. Marcus Thompson, a prenatal genetics specialist. But Linda had already decided I was guilty. James believes me, she smirked. I showed him everything. He's filing for divorce right now. That made me pause. James and I had tried for this baby for 2 years. He had been so happy, painting the nursery and reading parenting books. I couldn't believe he would turn on me so quickly, but Linda had always controlled him. Where is James? I asked. I want to hear it from him. He can't even look at you, she said. He's staying with me until you leave. This is his house. You have 1 hour to pack. I took a deep breath as my baby kicked again. All right, Linda, I'll pack. But first, I reached into my purse and pulled out an envelope. You should see this. She snatched it and tore it open. Inside was an appointment card for Dr. Thompson and his business card. For a second, she hesitated, then said, This proves nothing. You could be seeing him and the mechanic. I smiled. Check your mail tomorrow, Linda. You'll find the results interesting. What results? She asked, her confidence slipping. The DNA test, I said. The one proving this baby is James's. The one explaining why I've been seeing a genetics specialist. The one showing why this child might be your only grandchild. Her face paled. What do you mean, only grandchild? I said. James has a genetic condition. It made getting pregnant difficult. That's why I needed special care. But you never bothered to check your own family's medical history. She was silent, processing the truth. James's father had died young, and there had always been rumors of heart problems in the family. Linda had ignored them. You're lying, she whispered, but she didn't sound sure. Am I? I asked, walking upstairs. Like I said, check your mail. And maybe call James. Tell him to hold off on those divorce papers. For the next hour, I packed. Downstairs, I heard Linda on the phone, her voice rising and falling. She was panicking, trying to fix the mess she had created. As I loaded my bags into my car, my phone buzzed. A message from James. Where are you? Mom's saying something about DNA tests. I didn't reply. He had believed his mother without even talking to me. Tomorrow, he would know the truth. And then we'd have a very different conversation. I drove to my sister Sarah's house. As I pulled into her driveway, my baby kicked again. Tomorrow, the DNA results would prove everything. Sarah met me at the door. Are you okay? She asked. I hugged her. It went just as expected. Linda fell for it completely. And the test results come tomorrow? Yes, I said, settling onto her couch. And with them, the truth about James's genetic condition. The one Linda has been ignoring for years. Sarah handed me a cup of tea. And James? Has he called? I checked my phone. 3 missed calls, 5 texts, all from him. He's trying now, I said. But he needs to sit with this overnight. Tomorrow, when the truth comes out, we'll see if he's finally ready to stand up to his mother. As I lay in bed that night, feeling my baby move, I thought about trust, family, and control. Linda had always seen me as a threat. Tomorrow, she would learn that the real threat wasn't me, it was the truth. And this time, she wouldn't be able to escape it. The morning brought a flurry of texts and calls from James. I let them go to voicemail, knowing timing was everything. At precisely 9:30 a.m., my phone lit up with a call from Dr. Thompson's office. The results have been delivered, his assistant confirmed. Both copies, one to your mother-in-law's address and one to your husband's office. I thanked her and settled in to wait. Sarah brought me breakfast, but I could barely eat. Despite my confidence in the plan, my stomach was in knots. How long do you think before the explosion? Sarah asked, watching me pick at my toast. As if on cue, my phone erupted with Linda's ringtone. I put it on speaker. How dare you? Linda's voice trembled with rage and something else. Fear. These results. This can't be true. You falsified them. Dr. Thompson is one of the most respected genetic specialists in the country, I replied calmly. Are you suggesting he risked his medical license to help me fake test results? But James, he can't be, she couldn't even say it. Can't have a genetic heart condition, the same one that killed his father. The one you've been denying exists. I let the words hang in the air. The condition that makes this pregnancy high risk and required those Tuesday appointments you were so suspicious about. The line went quiet except for Linda's rapid breathing. I could picture her standing in her pristine living room, clutching those papers, her perfectly maintained world crumbling around her. Does James know? She finally whispered. He should be reading his copy right now. I hung up, hands shaking slightly. Sarah squeezed my shoulder in support. The next call came within minutes. James. Anna, his voice was rough, like he'd been crying. I need to see you, please. I closed my eyes, fighting back tears. I'm at Sarah's. Can I come over? Now. I looked at Sarah, who nodded. Yes. 20 minutes later, James's car pulled into the driveway. Through the window, I watched him sit there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel, the manila envelope visible on his passenger seat. When he finally came to the door, he looked like he'd aged years overnight. Sarah let him in and quietly disappeared upstairs, giving us privacy. Why didn't you tell me? He asked, standing awkwardly in the living room. Tell you what, James? That I was seeing a genetic specialist? That our baby needed extra monitoring? Or that your mother was following me, taking pictures and building a case to destroy our marriage? He flinched. I should have talked to you first. When Mom showed me those pictures, you should have talked to me about a lot of things, I cut in. Like the fact that your father's death wasn't just a heart attack. Like the symptoms you've been having but ignoring because your mother insisted nothing was wrong. James sank onto the couch, the fight draining out of him. She always said Dad's death was unexpected. That our family was healthy. When the doctor first suggested genetic testing during our fertility treatments, Mom said it was unnecessary. And you believed her because she's your mother and mothers don't lie, right? I couldn't keep the bitterness from my voice. Even when Dr. Thompson confirmed the condition, even when he explained the risks to our baby, you still couldn't stand up to her. I was scared, he admitted quietly. Scared of having the same thing that killed Dad. Scared of passing it to our child. It was easier to pretend Mom was right. I sat beside him, placing his hand on my belly just as our baby kicked. Our child will be fine. That's what those Tuesday appointments were for. Monitoring, preparing, making sure we have a plan. But James, we can't keep living in your mother's world of denial. The pictures, he started, were of me entering a medical building. Did your mother bother to check what kind of doctors work there? Or did she just spin her story and expect you to believe it? He hung his head. I let her manipulate me, again, and I almost lost you both because of it. Almost, I agreed. But now you have a choice to make, because I won't raise our child in this environment. I won't watch you choose your mother's lies over our family's health. James pulled out his phone, where multiple missed calls from Linda flashed on the screen. Without hesitation, he turned it off. I choose you, he said firmly. You and our baby. Mom will have to accept that things are going to change. I leaned against him, feeling some of the tension of the past 24 hours ease. She won't make it easy. No, he agreed, but I'm done letting her control us with lies. We'll face this condition together. Take all the precautions we need. No more hiding. As if in agreement, the baby kicked again, making us both smile. There would be more battles ahead. Linda wouldn't give up her control easily. But for the first time, I felt like James and I were truly united against her manipulation. Sarah came downstairs, carrying a tray of tea. Everything okay down here? I looked at James, saw the determination in his eyes, and nodded. Getting there. My phone buzzed with another call from Linda. This time, James reached over and declined it. Let her wait, he said. We have more important things to focus on. Linda's reaction to being cut off was nuclear. Over the next week, she escalated from constant calls to showing up at Sarah's house, screaming about being denied access to her son. Each time, James calmly asked her to leave, making it clear he wasn't playing by her rules anymore. "You've poisoned him against me," she wailed during her third attempted visit. "My own son." "No, Linda," I said from behind James. "The truth did that all by itself. We'd already arranged to meet with Dr. Thompson as a family, including Linda, if she chose to attend." To our surprise, she showed up, though her perfectly maintained appearance couldn't hide her obvious distress. Dr. Thompson laid out everything clearly: James's genetic condition, the risks, the management plan for both him and the baby. Linda sat rigid in her chair, flinching at each mention of hereditary factors. "If this had been caught earlier," Dr. Thompson explained gently, "we could have started preventive treatments for James years ago. However, it's not too late to begin now." "My husband." Linda's voice cracked. "Could he have been saved if we'd known?" The silence in the room was deafening. "Early intervention significantly improves outcomes," Dr. Thompson said diplomatically. "But we need to focus on the present. Your son and grandchild need proactive care." For the first time since I'd known her, Linda looked her age. The carefully constructed facade of perfection crumbled as she faced the consequences of her years of denial. "I thought if I didn't acknowledge it, it wouldn't be real," she whispered. "After losing your father, James, I couldn't bear the thought of you having the same condition." James reached over and took my hand. "But by denying it, you almost cost me my family, Mom. Anna was trying to protect our baby, and me, while you were trying to destroy her." Linda turned to me, tears streaming down her face. "I was so convinced you were betraying James, I never considered that I was fighting for his life," I finished. "For our child's future." She nodded, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Over the next month, things began to shift. James started his treatments, and Linda, perhaps seeking redemption, threw herself into researching the condition. She forwarded articles, joined support groups, and even organized her own medical screening. The day we found out we were having a little girl, Linda was surprisingly subdued. "I want to apologize," she said after the ultrasound. "Not just for the accusations, but for everything. I've spent years trying to control everything around me because I was terrified of losing James like I lost his father. Instead, I almost drove him away." I studied her face, seeing genuine remorse. "Fear makes us do terrible things sometimes," I conceded. "But moving forward, we need honesty. Complete honesty. And boundaries," James added firmly. "We're happy to have you in our lives, Mom, but as grandma, not as the decision maker." Linda nodded, reaching out tentatively to touch my belly. "I'd like that, to just be grandma." As my due date approached, Linda surprised us by maintaining her distance while still offering support. She helped with nursery preparations but asked before making any decisions. She shared her experiences but acknowledged when James and I chose different approaches. The night I went into labor, she sat quietly in the waiting room, respecting our wishes to have this time to ourselves. When complications arose, ones we were prepared for thanks to Dr. Thompson's monitoring, she remained calm, trusting in the medical team we carefully selected. After 18 hours, our daughter Emma Grace entered the world perfectly healthy despite the challenging delivery. When Linda finally held her, the tears that fell weren't about control or fear, but pure joy. "She's beautiful," Linda whispered, gently touching Emma's tiny fingers. "And she'll be strong, like her mother." I watched them together, remembering the screaming woman who kicked me out just months ago. "We all will be," I said, "as a family." 2 months later, we gathered for Emma's first set of genetic screening tests. Linda held my hand as we waited for results, no longer denying the importance of knowing, of being prepared. "Everything looks good," Dr. Thompson announced, smiling. "We'll continue monitoring, but she's doing wonderfully." Later that evening, as I watched Linda gently rocking Emma, James came up behind me. "Thank you," he said softly. "For what?" "For not giving up, for fighting for us, even when I didn't know we needed fighting for." I leaned back against him, remembering that terrible night when Linda had thrown me out. Sometimes the hardest battles are the ones that force us to face the truth. Linda looked up, catching our conversation. "And sometimes the people we think are our enemies are actually our saviors," she added quietly. Emma cooed in her arms, oblivious to the journey that had brought us here. She would grow up knowing her medical history, understanding the importance of prevention and monitoring. But more importantly, she would grow up in a family that had learned the value of truth over denial, of unity over control. Well, Linda said, standing to place Emma in her bassinet, I should head home. Unless you need anything. We're good, Mom, James replied, hugging her. See you Sunday for dinner? She nodded, gathering her things without trying to reorganize anything or offer unwanted advice. At the door, she paused. I'm grateful, she said simply, for second chances. As we watched her drive away, I thought about how life's biggest challenges often bring unexpected gifts. In fighting to protect my child, I'd helped heal a family. In standing firm against Linda's manipulation, I'd given her the opportunity to become the mother and grandmother she needed to be. Sometimes the happiest endings come not from winning the battle, but from helping everyone find peace after the war.